Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are heading over to Finland, specifically to Turku.
That's right. Turku, back in 2011, took on the title of European Capital of Culture, the EcoC.
And this isn't going to be your usual overview. We've got the official EU evaluation reports, plus some really interesting academic work that came out later looking at public art there.
Exactly. We're trying to cut through the usual PR stuff and really understand how Turku pulled off a successful cultural year, what made it tick.
Yeah, what were the key ingredients? Our mission today is really to unpack the strategic decisions, the foundations they laid, often years before the actual events kicked off.
And that foundation is, well, it's crucial. Turku's approach was quite different from the get-go. They really prioritized social development, community input. And look at the politics. The city council in Turku gave unanimous support for the EcoC bid. Unanimous. Way back in 2004.
Wow, okay, unanimous support 7 years before the event.
Yeah.
That feels unusual for these huge long-term city projects.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Very unusual. In many ecos, you see political changes, budget fights early on that can really derail things or change the direction completely.
Right.
Turku, having that solid backing, basically, de-risked the whole preparation phase. It meant they could actually focus on the tricky stuff, like the social goals, instead of just, fighting political battles constantly.
Okay, let's unpack that ambition then.
Yeah.
What were the big challenges or goals in Turku that made them think, right, let's go for this massive EcoC project?
Well, there were about four main things driving it. First, they really wanted more visibility for their culture, both the established stuff and the more underground scene, not just in Finland, but across Europe.
Stability. Makes sense.
Second, they explicitly saw the EcoC as a tool for social and economic development. It wasn't just a year of culture for culture's sake.
So a development strategy wrapped in a cultural flag almost.
Pretty much, yeah. Third, they wanted to build stronger cultural links across the Baltic Sea region. They even had partnerships planned with places like St. Petersburg.
Interesting regional angle.
And finally, more locally, it was about boosting the city's own self-esteem, its national image, proving, that Turku could handle these big, high-quality events.
Right, showing they could play in the big leagues. And this ambition got translated into three main objectives for the program, right?
Correct. They framed everything around internationality, creative industries, and the really interesting one, well-being.
Well-being. We'll definitely need to dive into that one. But first, infrastructure. They didn't just plan events, did they? There was building involved.
Oh, yes. Serious long-term urban development was tied into it. They were exploring a new Congress and music center. They committed to expanding and refurbishing the city library, develop cultural quarters.
And that big project on the riverbanks.
Exactly. Revitalizing the banks of the Ora River. Big plans.
But the star of the show, infrastructure-wise, that has to be Logamo, right?
Logamo, definitely. That became the central hub. It was a really clever project. They converted an old railway engineering workshop.
Adaptive reuse.
Nice. Yeah, and crucially, it got co-funding from the ERDF, the European Regional Development Fund. That signals serious investment in lasting cultural infrastructure, not just temporary stages.
And what was the target for Logamo? How many people did they hope would come through?
The initial hope, I think, was around 150,000 visitors during the EcoC year.
Okay, 150,000. And how did they actually do?
Well, they blew past that, ended up with over 270,000 visitors.
Wow, okay, nearly double. So the venue was a hit. But what about the stuff inside the venue and across the city? How did they fill this massive program?
Well, that's where that political stability really helped, Logamo was the shiny new box, but the program itself was noted in the evaluations as being much larger in scope and scale compared to other EcoC cities around that time.
Bigger scale. How did they select the projects for such a big program? Was it all top-down?
Not at all, actually. They used a very participatory approach. Back in 2008, they put out an open call for project ideas.
An open call. How did that go?
It went incredibly well. They got over 1,000 applications. 1,000.
Seriously? Okay, that's huge interest. But how do they choose? Must have been tough.
They had clear criteria. Projects absolutely had to connect to one of those three objectives: internationality, well-being, or creative industries. And importantly, they had to show potential for long-term effects, for legacy.
So not just one-off events, thinking long-term from the start.
Exactly. That process yielded, I think, 107 projects from the open call. And then the Turku 2011 Foundation commissioned another 58 projects directly to fill any gaps.
It's interesting, with all this scale and funding, I read the Melina Mercury Prize money, the official EU prize, was actually quite small compared to their overall budget.
Yeah, that's right. It was more symbolic than anything else. Important recognition, of course, but financially it just went into the general operating budget. It wasn't earmarked for specific things.
So the real engine was the consistent local and national backing we talked about.
Absolutely. That stable governance, the good relationship between the city and the national government, meant they could just get on with it. Fewer organizational headaches, more focus on actually delivering the program.
And that allowed them to cover a really wide range of culture, didn't it?
Definitely. You had big city events like the neighborhood weeks, bringing culture out to different areas, high-profile music like the Mariinsky Theater Orchestra visiting, major art exhibitions, and really ambitious performing arts too, like that Cirque Dracula show.
Right, a bit of everything. But let's circle back to that well-being objective. You said that was quite unique for an eco-sea at the time.
It really was. Turku 2011 was actually the first eco-sea to formally, explicitly link culture and well-being in its core strategy.
Okay, but well-being can sound a bit fuzzy. Was it just a nice concept, or did it translate into concrete actions? How do you do cultural well-being?
No, it wasn't just window dressing. It had real teeth. It meant they dedicated serious attention and resources to accessibility.
Accessibility, like physical access.
That, yes, but also broader access. Thinking about how to ensure people with disabilities could participate, how older residents could engage. They even developed specific culture plans for the elderly. It was about making sure culture reached everyone.
That's a much more concrete interpretation. And this focus on culture wasn't just about the eco-sea year, right? Turku has strong existing institutions.
Absolutely. Take the Turku City Theater. It's the oldest fully municipal theater in Finland, founded right after the war in 1946. Sits right there on the Ora River.
And it's active.
Very. It puts on like 5 to 10 new premieres every year, does around 400 performances total, pulls in about 140,000 people annually. That kind of established institution provides a really solid base, an anchor for all the temporary eco-sea stuff.
Right, you need that bedrock.
Yeah.
Okay, this seems like a good point to pivot to that academic research you mentioned. This is stuff about public art and utopian potential. Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, utopian potential. It sounds a bit grand maybe, but the core idea is how public art can spark hope, make people imagine, or even work towards a better future.
Okay, hope through art. But how does that actually work on the ground? Is it just about looking at something nice?
It's more active than that, often. It's about how the art inspires action or changes your perception, often through participation. The research highlights 3 specific examples in Turku that show this really well.
Okay, case studies. Lay them on us.
First up is Hide and Seek. This is a permanent piece started in 2011. It's a collection of maybe 30 small bronze self-portraits. The key thing is they were made by a professional artist with children, kids aged 5 to 10.
Oh, I like that already. Collaboration. Where are they?
They're hidden, scattered along the Ora River banks. You actually have to look for them, sometimes using clues or GPS. So it makes you, the viewer, slow down, engage physically, and sort of experience the city from a child's perspective down low.
It changes your movement, your viewpoint. Clever.